Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I'm in the workshop. No fishing today, so if you're expecting a fishing expedition or a fishing trip, then unfortunately that's not what's on the cards for today, but really just a little bit of time with me, going through my tackle, looking at some of my rigs, making some fine adjustments and preserving my equipment, really making sure that it's all good to go for the next trip out. And hopefully this will be of some use to people that have got some questions about preservation and cleaning of their gear and their equipment, and also a chance for some of you guys to give us some feedback. I really appreciate the support I've been given. I've been helped by loads of people from the local tackle shop, other anglers on the shore, comments that have been made on the channel. You know, I appreciate it all, fellas. It really is a steep learning curve for me, and to come up to speed to some of you guys that are really experienced, I really appreciate you taking the time out to help me. Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm in the workshop and we're looking at my tackle. It is absolute carnage in here at the moment, so I've been going through some of my kit, making some adjustments, getting ready for the next fishing session, making use of the lessons learned from the last couple, to be honest. This was one of the rig bodies that we used trying to target a ray from Southbourne, using these new to me at least, pyramid weights and the Gemini breakaway system, which I really like that. Using a long rig body. I mean, I'm really now guessing I'm 5'7" and that's far, but yeah, that's possibly a bit too long. It seemed right at the time. I was going for the longest trace I could. Yeah, I think we're probably looking at about a foot too long on these, so I think I'm going to prep both of those and shorten them down. Just hang them up for a minute so I don't go tripping over them, but that's going to be one of the first jobs. Fire's only just lit, so it's going to take a couple of goes at loading it up with wood. Even though I put some hardwood on it, but it should burn nicely. So yeah, this is what we're up to. So today I'm going to be looking at tidying up some of the kit. I don't know if it's the kind of thing you guys would like to watch when people are just tinkering around in the workshops, but this is the job that I've got today, so I'm going to prep for what I'm going to do first, and then I'll get straight back to you. So whilst I'm going through my kit and bits and pieces, I've given my brew kit pot a good old scrub out. Probably can't see the lighting in there. Don't know if people have seen the bottoms of those, like the honeycomb sort of area. That's what makes them as efficient as what they are. They clip on like that. So I actually washed this out. Everything got covered in salt and sand and other bits and pieces. So just a quick check of everything before I pack it all away. But yeah, that's not even warm yet, hasn't had a chance to warm up. Always lose a little bit of gas when you undo those. And it pretty much just sits inside the pot. And the gas canister, that is the biggest canister that they can fit in there. And that is a, let's have a look, see what it says for grammage. That's a 220. If you get the 240, it doesn't all sit together. But as you can see, it sits in there, and the recess fits on top of the cap of the gas bottle, so it fits quite nicely. And when you push it all together, it just pushes it proud. So if anyone's thinking about doing these and they want to know the absolute maximum gas canister size that they can use, the 220 is the most that you can use, and it fits perfectly. Really good. Fire's clicking and popping away in the background. I'm going to modify what was my drop down pulley rig. Already discussed that I really like. Carl from Al's Tackle and Bait suggested these pyramid weights for fishing Southbourne on sort of like a mixed bottom or clean bottom fishing. And just looking at these now, they are long and they're possibly too long. The reason why I say that, and you know, you can have too much of a good thing, but I found that I was getting a few tangles. The hook length where it was coming back, bringing it back in, and my hook line was still tangled around the rig body, and that means it isn't fishing properly. So I think I went a little bit too far with rig length. But I'm going to use a fixed measuring point on my bench. Just have a quick look, see how much that is. And I think, I know it sounds silly, but I think that is about right, to be honest. I think that is pretty good. So I'm going to cut them down. Got my trusty line clippers, allowing a little bit for the knot that's going to go on. Trim off the excess here, take the swivel off. Obviously I'm not going to talk to you a piece of line in my mouth, but this is a Gemini 100-pound power swivel. Absolutely lovely little things. I know lots of people have got different knots and everyone's got their favourite, and the uni knot, and yeah, like I've seen some of the YouTubers come out with some amazing stuff and all the rest of the, you know, but just for a touch and a swivel, I just like a simple plug knot. I've picked up some hints and tips from other YouTubers, shameless name drop, but Sandman's Tackle Time. Absolutely love this guy's channel. He's so descriptive, he helps everyone out, shares information, and you know, and even if you pick up a little bit from each of the people that you watch, there's some amazing people on YouTube at the moment, and it's certainly helped me out loads. Sandman's Tackle Time, the Fish Locker, yeah, everyone loves that channel. That channel is an absolute amazing channel. The guy is really producing the goods, a really nice guy with it, and I'm really pleased he's having some success at the moment, because his channel's just gone, it's taken off. It's gone crazy, but fully deserving in my eyes. The guy is an absolute star. Saltwater angler, another one that's putting loads of effort into trying to help other people out, and you know, like with hints and tips, and showing not just the good bits of what happens, but also their failings as well sometimes, you know, so you know, lesson learned and all that kind of stuff. It's yeah, there's some absolute cracking stuff going out. Smash fishing, humour factor, absolutely love those guys. You know, very lucky with their part of the world where they live. I'm not sure if it's Jersey or Guernsey. I think it might be Guernsey. I'll probably get shouted at for saying the wrong place. But yeah, those guys are knocking it out of the park as well. Love their foraging videos. Yeah, and they seem to specialise with the conger. I don't know if that's because conger and bass seem to be some of their mainstay. But yeah, absolutely amazing. So we've got saltwater angler, smash fishing, the Fish Locker, which you know, he's absolutely knocking it out of the park. Sandman's Tackle Time. These are all absolute cracking films, footages and stuff that are going on YouTube at the moment. It's really inspirational, you know. These guys are really putting in a lot of effort. I don't know if anyone's ever tried to film and fish at the same time. It's pretty difficult, especially when you're on your own. But yeah, it's all good. So I've just shortened. That was a big pop. Big pop from the fire. Starting to warm up in here already, actually. It's nice. Makes it very comfortable. I would have the music on, but then you'd be listening to my music and then I'd be getting into trouble. So the only thing missing at the moment is the music. So I've got two modified, slightly shortened from what they were, rig bodies for my pulley pennels that I've done specifically for fishing for small-eyed rays, Southbourne Beach. That's the target. That's what I'm still trying. We've also got to revisit Brown Down Camp, which we made an initial film and pulled a blank. Yeah, trying to learn the lessons from. I don't want to repeat pulling a blank, but it'd be quite criminal to go there twice and pull a blank twice. But we tried filming on Southbourne the other night, and I've run out of options with filming, to be honest. I was on my own. My brother wasn't there. And it all got a little bit difficult with what I was trying to achieve, but no excuses. So what I did learn, and there was talking to some of the locals, again very helpful, was I've now got a pennel rig. This is new to me, but I'm using a bait style hook, just put that there, with the little barbs on the back of the shank in the pennel configuration. And you're thinking, that's a really small hook. Well, it's certainly not a 4.0, it's not a 2.0. I think they're a size 2 hook. Okay, so they're in the panel configuration, and I have got some reservations, but the main reason for doing this, and it is new to me and I'm quite excited about it, is purely presenting a sand eel for small-eyed rays off a predominantly sand beach. And that's all good. The guys that actually showed me this, that talked about this, and were helping me out, and when I say helping me out, I mean, I'm not being rude, but I don't know the people, I can't recount their names, I'm like a goldfish when it comes to remembering people's names. But I will say this much: they knew I was struggling, they were willing to help, and they even gave me some bait. Showed me how to adjust my rig, and the proof in the pudding was they both had small-eyed rays to about £5. And I was quite blown away really, because they took the time out, they stopped, they come over and had a chat, helped me adjust my rig, literally gave me enough bait to do a whole fishing session. Now I'm just wondering, and this is only because I've seen other people do it, do I bend the shank of this pennel hook? So, as an experiment, I'm willing to see it fail if it's not right. I'm going to try and bend, just put a little twink in that. It's like, it doesn't need a big one. Yeah, and that's work. Hope I haven't physically weakened the hook in any way, but because it's the pennel hook, it's not that important. It's really for bait presentation. So I'm going to run that down through there. I can't use rubber tubing on that pennel hook, which would be ideal for bait presentation on a smaller hook, because it's got the barbs on the shaft. And here you say, why don't you flatten down the barbs? I actually want the barbs there, to be honest. So I'm just going to use, the reason why I've hung these up, I'm going to use them to measure off and make sure I've got the right hook lengths before I knock out and make a few more. So this is £30 amnesia for the hook length. I've got £100 main body. I've got 18 to £20 shock leader, tapered shock leader, and I've got £18 monofilament line. So for the sequence of line, I think I'm good. For the fine tuning of my bait presentation and the fact that I've swapped to some smaller hooks, I think I'm good. And really and truly, the proof is going to be in the making when I come to actually physically use this. But majority of this is all new to me. I've not used pyramid weights before. I've not used these Gemini what word am I looking for? I've not used these Gemini, I'm going to have to look in the packet now and I see what they're called, which I will do once I stop juggling these and just make sure I've got the right hook length and that these clip up alright. This one's pretty close, to be honest. Might have to take an inch out of that one. Yeah, so when you see that I'm checking, I'd rather have a little bit more. So even though I've tied that hook, I've tied it on the side of generous, if that's the right way. So I'm going to shorten that up by at least an inch. And I can feel the heat coming off of the log burner at the moment. It's quite nice. It's quite damp outside, typical October weather. Damp, misty in the mornings. I went fishing the other night. And it was everything was soaking wet in the morning, even though it wasn't raining. It's just that mist that you get. And excuse me if I stop talking while I'm concentrating. Just want to make sure, being the primary hook, that this one is nice and tight and is set right. Attention to detail at this stage is really important. I don't want to put all this effort into catching a fish only to lose one because my knots aren't good or that my tackle hasn't been set correctly. So yeah, I can see now I've got a nice drop for the hook length, at least 1 inch to 2 inches, and that's all clipped up nice. So just to describe what I've been doing, I've got the pyramid weight, that's got its own swivel to the Gemini bait clip, that's the description I was looking for. And when this shield, put it in front of my top there, when this shield hits the water, hydrostatic forces pushes it up and ejects the hook, and there is, quite cheeky, and I will take a photograph of it as well, my little pennel set up specifically for bait preparation for sand eel. Sand eel for small-eyed rays. That is the target when I next go to Southbourne Beach. So I'm going to go ahead and make up some spare hook lengths. It's always nice to have one for each of your bodies, and at least one extra purely so that you can have one baited up ready to go. I might go 2 extra, I'll see how many hooks I've got, but at least 1 extra, and then we'll see how we go. I'm going to chuck some more wood on the fire as well, keep it nice and toasty warm. So I'm still at it, and the next thing, having done one of my hook lengths, so I'm a big fan of these Tronics Pro winders, and I colour code them. So if I'm going to make bodies and hook lengths that are matched for an evening's fishing, then I do use the colour coordination of it. So one thing that I have started to see is different ways, different variations of winding your winders. And what I like to do is to set the hooks into the foam, and this, you know, I understand everyone does everything different, so if someone's got a better variation on this, then I'm all ears and I'm willing to listen and learn. But I set them deep into the foam so the hooks don't stick out even at the top or the bottom, and then using the pin that's supplied, you get a pin, you put that opposite the hook, so you've got the hooks in and then the pin opposite, take a turn around it and then start to wind. And the first wind I go to the opposite side of the pin and it traps the line there. And if you alternate sides of the pin, when you remove the pin, everything stays as it should. Now I have considered putting a small slot in the foam, but then you're just, every time you load it up it's going to be different and you're going to end up with slots all the way round. But I found that routine works really well. And careful not to nick your hook length. I then, with the Gemini quick link, clip it, and I don't know if you can see, but that hook length now is really neat, and there's room for multiple hook lengths. So the next job is to make some more, and that one reel will hold 3 sets of hook lengths. So that is my next task. So I've got my Gemini link clips. I really like those for my hook lengths. You can make up some hook lengths and have them on a winder, and then just as you need them. And you can make a couple with some different size hooks. So, you know, like if you're using size 2s and it's not working for you, or if you want to put a slightly bigger bait on because someone else has caught something further down the beach, you can just unhook your hook length and swap it out for something that you've already pre-made. Saves you all that time, especially night fishing, you know. So I'm a big fan of it. I've been definitely converted to just carrying a load of loose tackle in a tackle box and making up what I want when I get there. I understand that, and there are people that enjoy doing that, making up exactly what they need for when they need it. But me personally, I am a big fan of having everything as far as predictable you can, made up, ready to go. It means you can clip on and be fishing really, really efficiently, really quickly. But then I also do carry, sorry, I'm just pausing while I'm tying a knot. I can't breathe, talk and tie knots at the same time. I am a man. And then, yeah, lost my track. So yeah, and having some alternative rigs specific for the place you're fishing. Now you don't have to carry loads and loads of gear. The downside of having hardwood in the log burner is it does tend to randomly crack and crumble like that. But for me, and just making sure all your rigs are balanced out and nice. Right, so just one thing that I have seen from other people as well, and this is something I've learnt, amnesia. So it does come off the spool and it's supposed to be memory free, but what they're trying to say is it's minimum memory forming line, but it has come off the spool, so it will want to curl up like that. So I've cut a little piece of leather and it's off a belt or a strap, can't remember quite where I got it from, but rather than burning your fingers to dress your line, if you just run your line through something like that, not too fast because you don't want to put too much heat through it and you don't want to damage or weaken the line in any way, but I've just run that through once and it's minimised it, that. And it's a bit subjective this really, because it's going to go onto a spool winder and it's going to get a little bit of curve in it again, but that is quite a long hook length, and I don't know if you can see, but that's sitting a lot straighter, a lot nicer with no weight on it at all. You could possibly do one more just to make sure. The top end on that end was alright, and then I'm just going to pinch a little bit harder, just a bit further down. So that's £30 amnesia. I don't know if you can see, I am just supporting that, I'm not pulling it. It's a lot straighter. Now you can do it with your fingers, and all you're doing really is introducing a little bit of warmth into the line. Enough that, one, you don't burn your fingertips, which is your gauge, but you know, it's dressed quite nicely now. So I just need to look for a hook combination for that one that's close to, because I haven't got in fact I'm going to go to the tackle shop today. I'm going to go and speak to Kyle down at Al's Tackle and Bait. It's not a shameless plug, the guy is really helpful, he does help me out a lot. I'm just looking for a smaller variation to see what I've got. So I've got these, which are, let's have a look, size 4s, size 2.0. I might go for some Mustard Vikings just for a variation. And I'm going to put, even though they're different size hooks, I'm going to put them on the same winder because it's the same outcome that I'd like. And so when I get there I can see and make a decision as to what I want to do. But some Uptide Vikings look like a nice shape, look like they're going to hold a sand eel well, not too big. Something I did learn the other night fishing and talking to the other guys was I was going big hooks, big baits, which is all, you know, commendable. Big hooks, big baits, big fish. Actually, where I was fishing, that maybe might not have been the right sort of thing. So I'm just wondering now whether I can bend the shank of one of these for the pennel. Doing it away from my face, because if it's hardened still, there's a chance it might give. And that's put a nice, let's have a quick look, see what I can put. Piece of card. So I don't know if you can see that. Just put a bend in the shank. Pass that through. Makes for a nice pennel setup. Makes it sit. What that does is it just makes that hook sit nicer when in the pennel, when it's the second hook in the pennel. Again, just using this to dress up. Make sure that my rig is a balanced rig and it's all going to do exactly as it should do. And trim some excess line. Pull that pennel out of the way. And again, I can't breathe, talk and tie knots all at the same time. I'm disproving myself there, aren't I? So, all gone a bit quiet. You can tell the fire's starting to burn down a little bit because it gets quieter. I'm going to need to put some more wood on there in a minute. Turns the workshop from what can be quite a grim place in the autumn and winter, and and even that's not quite true because I like time out in the workshop, but certainly it makes it a lot more comfortable. Yeah, that's gonna work nice, especially for a sand hill in that configuration, the panel. I'll take some photographs later. Right, so just prove that and check that it will clip up. Struggled a little bit with those bait clips just at the start, but the more I've used them and the more I've got used to them, that was predicted. I was told that would be the case, that especially at night, but once you get a bit of muscle memory and you've done it a few times, it does become a lot easier. So I'm going to load those up onto that same winder with the other ones, and these are going to be my sand eel small eye grey hook lengths for the next beach fishing session down at Southbourne. So I have 3 hook lengths on this Tronics Pro foam winder, all nice and neat and clipped down tidy, and I've got 2 full pulley panel main bodies for the rigs. So between the pair of those there's two bodies and 3 winders of hooks, and they're ready to go. The other thing that I did, just talking to some of the locals, talked to a guy called Ben who was in the fishing within the same groin section that I was in. That doesn't sound right, does it? But I was talking to Ben, and he was a local and he'd fished that area a lot. You know, and he's a voice of experience. He's going to know what does and what doesn't fish. So he caught a bass early in his session, but he then switched to targets specifically for the sole. As it got darker and later in the evening, and the tide started to calm down a little bit from the initial flood, he was fishing the gully just past the groins, and he had a nice sole. Didn't weigh it, but I would estimate £1.75, £2. And he says he's had as many as 6 in a session. So that's something to think about as the evening wears on, and whilst fishing for a ray and keeping one rod out, specifically targeting a ray. At that point in the tide and in those certain conditions, I might swap over and try and catch myself a sole. With regard to that, I think I'll swap over for like a 1 up 1 down type rig. I've got some already made. When I say I think I've got some already made, I have got some already made. It's pretty much a mainstay of fishing depending on where you're going and what you're doing. But I'm going to check through those for my hook sizings. I've got some flounder rigs that were made up specifically with beads. I think flounder tend to be quite a sight predator. They sit on the bottom and they look up to see what's around, and they flutter along searching out as they go. So I've got those already pre-made. For anyone that's watched some of my videos, I'll say some of my videos, I've only got 2 videos at the moment, but there's plenty more in production. I carry my water in a water bladder like this. The reason why I carry it in a water bladder is, one, because it can fit pretty much anywhere amongst the tackle box and take the shape, form of any available space. It carries 5 litres, and 5 litres is more than enough. If you carry a hard fixed bottle or a flask, they tend to be rigid and it's harder to find places to pack them and all that kind of stuff. But the flexibility of a water bladder bag like that is really good. But over time they can start to smell a little bit funky, you know, it gets a bit stale, and this one's not too bad. It's still fairly fresh. But a top tip, and it is a really good tip, if you buy Sterident tablets, the ones that they use for the false gnashers, and you soak in a cup overnight or whatever it is they do with them, if you just put half or 1 Sterident tablet inside there, fill it up, leave it overnight, empty it out the next morning, it makes it all minty fresh and takes away all that, like that normal plasticky stale type smell and taste that you can get from containers. So to refresh your bag, you need to find someone with either false gnashers who will lend you a tablet or give you a tablet, or go out and buy yourself some, and they'll last forever. But for freshening up water containers and water bladders or bags, also what's the ones that people put in the rucksacks, you know, with the pipe that comes over the side, is it camelback? Camelback, yeah. If you want to freshen those up, it works the same. Really, really good, handy thing. And also, when you store them open so that the air can get inside. And by letting the air get inside, they tend not to turn stale. I've just been going through some of my other winders and just checking everything and seeing where I'm at and all the rest of it. But I've got a question for you guys out there really. So 3-hook flapper rigs, what sort of hook lengths are you guys using? Because I think mine are running a bit long at the moment, to be fair. I'm running 48 to 50 centimetres on my hook lengths, and I'm thinking that possibly they only need to be 25 to 30 centimetres. I'd really appreciate if anyone could comment, because I know some of you guys out there say like that fish regular smaller fish marks, or where there's a variation in species, that the 3-hook flapper rig is pretty much a mainstay. So it'd be really nice to know what other people are using, just because I think mine are a bit too long, to be honest. I'm getting a couple of tangles, and I think I could dial out the tangles by reducing the hook lengths. But all of that said, I've now gone through all of my spools, all colour coordinated, ready for the tackle box, ready to go. So that's one of the jobs ticked off the list. I've also bought a set of these pyramid weights in the different size combinations. So I'm going to get myself a little tub just to keep them separate from the breakaways so they don't all get mushed together. And then there's another option or choice of what to use and what to do. And as much as I'm prepping stuff here, it's raising questions for me really. So another thing, how do you dispose of your hooks and your little bits and bits when you're tidying up, making rigs and all the rest of it? At the moment, my intention is to collect all my hooks in a tub, rather than just putting them in the trash, garbage, rubbish, and dealing with them then that way. Because I've got a cocker spaniel who's mad as a box of frogs, and I've got 2 kids, and I just can't risk even a single hook, like being found on the floor in the carpet, or worse still, the dog managing to get hold of it. So all my used hooks I'm going to put in one container and dispose of them together, and all the other tackle related items. For all my other little tackle related items, I tend to just run with a little tub full of all the bits and pieces and offcuts and that, and then you can put a lid on that, and then I'm quite happy to put that in the trash. But I'm not really comfortable with throwing hooks away at the moment. So one of the things that I would appreciate is other people's views on these things. So I've looked at my brew kit, the preservation of the bladder. You've seen me light the fire. I'm still going through some of my other bits and pieces. I've run out of WD-40. I need some WD-40 to wash the outside of my reels. I just use a WD-40 wet rag and go through them. I sometimes use, and I don't know if anyone else does, FS365. So let me just grab some. This is designed for winterizing motorbikes. Scott Euler FS365. Corrosion inhibitor, reduces the effects of salt, no sticky residue, and it's designed for bikes. Then when I washed my rods in warm soapy water and allowed them to air dry in the workshop, I've actually sprayed this onto a cloth and wiped all the eyes and the rod and all the rest of it. And I'm going to try it on my reels as well this time, just to see how it goes. I don't know what everyone else is using. I'm pretty sure there'll be an opinion on that, whether it's right or wrong or indifferent. Nobody cares. But how do you preserve your equipment? What do you use? Do you use WD-40? Do you use something like an inhibitor? Do you not wash? Do you just use it and abuse it? Really interested to hear. I know I keep saying it, but any views on any of this, please comment. And I do go through all the comments. I do read them all. I'm small enough that I've only got a few subscribers and a few videos. So I love reading the comments because it does help me no end. What next? What am I up to next? I'm going to pack my tackle box again. So I said earlier on, I'm just going to dampen this cloth down, this rag. Microfiber cloths are really cheap now, you can get them from supermarkets. You can get a few for just a couple of quid. But anywhere where there might have been salt, the bay lamp specifically, because it's like they seem to corrode easy if you do leave them. But I'm literally, this is a wet rag. The only thing is as well, I've got my hat on, I've got my hooded top on. Bloody fire's kicking out now, so it's absolutely baking in here. But I'm tolerating it because it's a nice dry heat, and all of the stuff that's in my workshop, you know, this time of year you do get that condensation, those damp misty mornings. My workshop isn't insulated. Got plans for the future to build like a wooden log style chalet at the bottom of the garden that's going to be purely for, you know, like the more fragile elements that need the insulation and the warmth, somewhere I can sit and go through my gear. But at the moment I've got my workshop as it is. Every man needs a man cave, don't they? I love spending time in there. Like I said earlier, the only thing that's missing at the moment, there's no music on. But trying to talk to you and have music on at the same time, that ain't going to work. So, I don't know if you can see that, but I've just basically sprayed FS365 onto a cloth and given everything a really good wipe. Now then, I'll leave that there to air dry and do the other one. When they've air dried out of it, I'll go back to them, see if they need ragging over again, as in a dry clean rag. But I like to spend a little bit of time just going through all this, possibly finding items that might let you down next time. See if, you know, just check your kit over. I don't know if anyone else has got Shimano reels, and this is another one for comment, if anyone's got any comments. I've got, let's just check, make sure I don't get this right. I've got the Beastmaster, which is a 7,500 Shimano reel, and the, oh, right, so they're both Beastmaster reels. One's an XSA and one's an XB. Okay, so I've gone over my reels with the 365 inhibitor, and now, to be fair, it's dried out. It is true, it isn't sticky, it doesn't feel greasy. This is more for my own benefit really, just because I can't quite believe it's that good. But yeah, so that is a reel that has been, I've washed the spool in warm soapy water, didn't submerge the reel, and then rather than clean the reel in any specific fashion, I've sprayed it with 365 and then clothed it over afterwards to make sure it's nice and dry. And seriously, it's not sticky. I'm very interested to hear what everyone else does, so I'm quite pleased with that. That's a routine I think I'll follow for a while, until someone either tells me that it's ridiculous and I shouldn't be doing it, or I find fault in it. But at the moment I'm quite pleased with that. Good stuff. Fire is quiet, different wood going on this time. So, God, I didn't want to over tighten that, did I? Top tip, don't over tighten anything, to be honest. I don't know why I've done that. Just give that one a bit of a cloth over it. But yeah, seriously, there's no sticky residue, and it's actually brought them up to look pretty nice, to be honest. I'm probably going to be told no one else bothers, but I can't afford to keep changing my kit, so I like to look after it as best I can. There we go, all nice and tidy. I just loosely tighten it up with the handle tucked away, and that's how they go in the box. with my creature of habit. Everything goes away in the same way. My spool winders, my weight container. Right, just sort out. I don't take all my weights, and I take generally take just what's required, but just because I'm storing these for the time being to keep the workshop tidy, keep everything in the tackle box. I know Breakaway do like a weight holder setup, and I'm looking for a better way of storing Breakaway leads, because trying to store Breakaway leads with all the wires everywhere, they're not the easiest of things to tidy up and store away, especially in amongst everything else that you've got. But is there something on the market for storing these? Is there? I know there is that bracket for the seat tackle box. I'm not too keen on it really, because I like using the bait trays. So that's that box and the lid. Everything kept the same, in the same place, and packed the same way. And probably be laughed at, scoffed. Headlight. So I've got that needs to be discharged, recharged. So I think, to be honest, I'm going to fully discharge that. Just put that there out of the way, and then I'll remember it. So my headlight, I'm going to fully discharge it. All bait needles and nip-nap and trivia. Okay, so got a little bit of tackle to tidy up inside here. Didn't realise I had that there still. That's from a quick pack up. Know when you and we've all done that, haven't we? Quick pack up, you've had enough, it all goes back in the box. It just goes back in the box. Snip lines, chop this, chop that, get it in. I want to go home, I've had enough. Yeah, so all the metal objects I'm going to preserve as well. You say preserve? That 365, I'm going to give it all a spray and a wet cloth, just because all this stuff all gets seized up pretty quick. Different cloth for this, give it all a nice clean up, get rid of. Right, the difference, and you fellas will know, fishing on a sandy beach or fishing on a shingle beach, the positives and negatives. So for me, shingle beach, hard to walk on, especially when you're carrying all your kit, hard to walk on. And if you so much as put something down, it's as good as lost. If you try finding something on a shingle beach, it's an absolute nightmare. It's almost worth taking a metal detector, because the second you put it down, chances of finding it again are pretty few and far between. So yeah, finding something that you've lost on a shingle beach, hard work that one. But the downsides of a sandy beach, it gets absolutely everywhere. And when I say everywhere, my car is full of it. That's part of the brute kit stuff. Right, forceps, bait scissors, crimping pliers, normal pliers, round nose pliers, filleting knife, Gemini disgorger. Right, all got metal on them, all can corrode, and all need to be looked after. So my preservation cloth, if you like, is still good. I'm being very careful with this filleting knife. I sharpened that recently, and that is really sharp. Washed that out with soapy water, air dried it, filleting knife, done. Bait scissors, spend out on a decent set of bait scissors, you might as well look after them. I know they're high grade stainless steel, but stainless steel can still corrode, surface oxidise. So they've just been wiped through. Notice I'm not actually going to take any of this off. I'm not going to rag these off again dry. I'm just going to let them air dry, because it's a little bit of lubrication as well. So forceps, you can get them quite cheaply online. These are medical grade forceps, perfect. If you've watched any of if you've watched any of Fisho's videos, he has got a very kind way of unhooking flounder through the gills. But what I found, a lot of people use flat, straight forceps. It's no harder to get these with the curving. And when you're trying to put in through the gill cover, these actually are, it keeps your hands clear. I don't know if you can see that bend, but a variation on the straight. And these aren't expensive, you can get them online. I want to say they were about £4 or £5. I can't remember exactly, but they weren't far wrong from that. They were only a few pounds. Quite impressive to how cheap they were. Just spraying a little bit of lubricant preservation inhibitor in the joint and my crimping pliers. Do like using crimping pliers as opposed to anything else. I know you can use other things. People either caution against it or advise on alternatives, but if you're going to use crimps, it's worth using a pair of crimping pliers. Use the right tool for the right job. Really old pair of just plain normal pliers. I've had these absolute donkeys, and I think even these came in like a cheap tool set. It wasn't even like a quality tool set or anything, and they just haven't gone wrong. They are absolutely amazing. Round nose pliers, ideal for tightening up, holding things, especially with things like swivels. You can put them through on the swivels. Very cheap again, bought from an online merchant. And baiting needles, I've got loads of baiting needles. You can never have too many baiting needles. I've got one permanently attached to my filleting knife. I've got variations in the theme of different ones, but if you neglect these and they get surface corroded, they don't work as well. You know, they tear the bait apart if you're using soft worm and stuff like that. These are interesting. So just because one of the fishing sessions we used, my brother made these. So they are just stainless steel wire bent to shape, and you can bait each of the needles and you can put them together, elastic everything together. So if you're putting 4 worm in parallel to make a nice big sausage bait, you can put 4 worm on it, elastic it all together, and either take it off and present it on the hook, or with the 4 all elasticated together, put another baiting needle up through the centre and use that to transfer onto your hook. A really flexible solution. My brother made these, and my brother made these because we liked using these. So these are Yuki something, and they're double bait needles, but you're restricted for space. They're good for making small baits, but what if you want to make big baits? Just a variation on the thing. Brother made those. I think he used stainless steel welding rod, and looking at it at a guess, at 1.6mm. You can buy welding rods really cheap, or if you know someone that can get hold of a few for you. But yeah, bait needles, dual bait needles, little miniature bait needles, all good stuff. All goes in the top drawer, or bait tray I should say. All of this heavy stuff, try and put at the bottom. Always pack it the same way. I don't have to go hunting around the box thinking, where's that? That ain't where I put it. But if it isn't exactly where it normally is, it's lost in the shingle or someone's borrowed it. So yeah. Line clippers, a lighter, and the foot for the brew kit. All goes in. Scales, main body, tapered shock leader. Do I need it? Possibly not. Night lights and baiting elastic. I take a lot of baiting elastic. I go through a lot of baiting elastic. I like the baiting elastic. Brew kit, cup, fork and spoon. All gets put to one side. Don't need it all the time if I'm only going for a couple of hours. And that, I need to find a container for those. Oh, and a priest. Don't need to preserve or lubricate a priest because it's brass. I don't know if people have seen one of these sort of priests before, but also on the other end, This is for trout fishing mainly. You have that for introducing into the fish. I'll leave your imagination as to where it's introduced. You can turn it and withdraw it, and then you can inspect the fly or hatch. That is for trout fishing. What I have done, if I'm keeping a fish and it hasn't been returned, you can gut it on the beach there and then and see what it's been eating. And sometimes it's quite interesting to see it's picked up your bait, which might be nothing like what it previously ate. And then you wonder to yourself, why is it even showing any interest in what you're presenting, when actually what it's really eating in the background is nothing like it at all. So just put my little leather strap back into my rig winder box, because that seems the most logical place to keep it. That, with just a few little bits and pieces that need to be checked and sorted out. Oh yeah, insulation tape. What do you need insulation tape for? Hang on, I'll do that properly. What do you need insulation tape for? I'll tell you. I use it for holding the shock leader onto my spools and my reels. I don't like clipping them or using the line clips, because I'm worried that that might damage or put a weak point in the line. So I tend to just hold them on with a little bit of insulation tape. And you'll be surprised what you need insulation tape for when you're out on the beach all night fishing and something happens, or this happens, or that happens. But insulation tape, always carry a little roll of that bad boy. And for now, oh, right, here we go. This Innova, don't know what they're called. I don't know what that's the brand name. But these bait elastic holders, I absolutely love this, and I'm going to give it a little cheeky, a little cheeky clean up. I like it that much. Just give it my last little bit of WD-40 that I've got, because that's all I've got. I need to get another can. I need to add that onto my list actually, don't I? Yeah, bait elastic holder. What an absolute sensational little bit of kit. So the problem of never being able to find the end when you need it, that goes. The fact that when it gets all greasy and all the rest of it, that is just the container on the outside that takes the hit. The bit inside stays clean. Stays clean. And what I tend to do is I have a bucket of water the whole time I'm fishing on the beach. So it has this little bit that feeds it out. So you use what you need to use. Just hold the end and snap it off. The roll of elastic is, he says he's going to lose the end, is on the inside and can just be changed over for a new one. And you can get different thicknesses, different grades. But also just very tactile. It's exactly the right shape and size. And when your hands are dealing with the bait and you're getting all greasy and oily and blood and guts and God knows what else, just rinse it out in your bucket of water, wipe it off with a cloth, and you're good to go again. Absolutely amazing little bit of kit. Big shout out to my brother, he bought me that. Really pleased with that. It's one of my favourite things. I really like it. Really like it. So the only other thing to go in the box, fish measure. The only reason why you need one of those, first you've got to catch some fish. Catch some fish, and then fish big enough worth measuring. So that's me for now. I think I'm going to go to the tackle shop. Thank you for the continued support. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the comments. And we look forward to seeing you in the very near future with another angling adventure trip expedition. And until then, bye for now, and we'll see you soon.